Ladies and gentlemen of Irish Nation, welcome to the Leprechaun Connection podcast. Mike McClure here, your host. The email for the show is leprechaunconnection@gmail.com. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can also visit our website at leprechaunconnection.com, where you'll find a link to our Patreon and a link to donate to St. Jude. That's leprechaunconnection.com if you would like to support the show. Welcome, lads and lasses. We are live here on Facebook, in the Facebook group, and on our public page. Just search Leprechaun Connection. And joining me is Mr. Bruce Ruff. Bruce,
Hey, how you doing?
you know,
I'm ready.
you got yourself a good microphone now,
I
and
do.
you got yourself a studio, a nice backdrop. You sound like an actual real pro now. So that's
Well,
good, right?
That's because I'm good looking.
Hey, you can be good looking.
Yet to be determined.
I still got that face for radio, so
You do.
we'll just settle for that.
You just wanted everybody to see me drinking whiskey on a daily.
What kind of whiskey is that today?
This radio message is brought to you by Crown Apple.
Well, it's not actually, but just for the record, this message is not brought to you by Crown Apple. That is what Bruce is drinking. We got to be very clear on our intentions.
By the lawyers.
But I mean, hell, if we just start getting a whole bunch of Crown Apple in the mail, I guess that was a good
We're
thing.
good
Right?
with that.
It's it's whatever. So last podcast, Sean and I we went down we did the 2023 season breakdown. We went game by game on the schedule, and Sean and I both gave our thoughts on how the season's going to play out. Sean went in and he gave in actual score predictions. You don't have to go as deep into that if you want, and you can just give a win, or if it's going to be a win or a loss, or you can give your score prediction. It's whatever. I didn't give any score predictions. I like to wait until the actual pregame show before I give an actual score prediction.
I do too, but if Sean did it, I gotta one up him. So I want to compare notes here.
All right, so the first game here is coming up on us. It's right around the corner. The Navy midshipmen in Ireland. Bruce, what is your take on that matchup?
First of all, it's the first game of the season, week 0. I think everybody in Irish Nation is ready for this game. It's been too long. We're ready to hear the Irish drum. We're ready to hear us rocking down the field. That game is actually, I'm interested to see what happens, and I'll tell you why. We got a new head coach at Navy, so really don't know what's going to happen there. What kind of program is he going to run? What kind of offense is he going to run? We have an idea, but Irish are going to win the game. Don't get me wrong, hands down. I'm just up in the air when it comes to a prediction on it, because I don't know if the Irish are going to go in there and 45-7, 45-10 types deal, or if it's going to be a ball game. Hopefully the Irish can go in there and take command, and we get to see what Hartman can do behind center. And I'm really excited for that game.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be similar to the 2012 matchup, where we go in there and just blow them out of the water.
I'd love to see that.
Because they got a new head coach, so we don't know what that's going to be like. I think it's just going to be. I don't think it's going to be much of a contest. But it's Navy. Who knows, right?
Exactly. I remember. And now I'll tell you a funny story about Navy.
Okay.
Do you remember the streak breaker?
2007.
Yeah. Well, I got a sad story about that. So
okay.
I'm sitting in the apartment, minding my own business. I'm there with my cousin Vince. We're watching the game. I think it was 46 games, 47, something like that.
It was something like that. It was like 40 something years.
Yeah, and we played them around Halloween. So I happen to have some jack-o'-lanterns still out on my patio, which at the time I lived in an apartment on the 2nd floor. So you know where I'm going with this. That game, I was on the phone with Shauna at the time, and the game was going bad. It was about ready to be over. We were losing, and she knew it before I did it. She's like, "Do not throw." It was already gone. I took that jack-o'-lantern. I launched that thing off the 2nd story. I don't know whose car I hit. I really apologize. Uh, but I have bad memories of Navy, and Navy is a team that can scare me. I mean, I really do
Yeah.
want Notre Dame to walk in there and clean house, but it's a scary team. You know, you get that triple option running, and you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, there's excuse me. I did hit my cough button.
You know, there's a mute button.
There, I hit it that time. It kind of came up it's too quick.
Even though we had a safety meeting before this
We did.
podcast
We
about
actually
the cough
did.
button.
Bruce is not lying about that. We have to make sure we have a safety meeting before we go on the air. We got to make sure that everybody knows what the cough button is and the fart button. We got to make sure Bruce isn't drinking too much. We got to make sure that,
Well,
we're not, doing this and doing that. We got to go through the list of the 7 dirty words. That's, from, Mr. George Carlin, right? We got to make sure we review those before we go on the air. So yeah, we do have a safety briefing.
and I paid attention.
I apparently did not.
That is so funny that you just reamed me for 5 minutes about hitting the cough button.
And then, boom.
It happened.
Hey, I'm a hypocrite, bro.
Hey, do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. That's how I do. That's how I do. And that's what I will do. Always. Always. And it's the same thing with my kids, It's the same way,
Oh,
so.
you got to have it that way. I'm out there mowing the lawn the other day, and I'm sitting there, 46 years old, mowing the lawn. Still got kids living at home, and I'm like, I got done, and I'm beating in sweat because I don't know if anybody realizes that we got a heat wave going on down here in Florida, and I love heat, not this heat. This is like Satan's anus blowing on me on a daily, and I'm out there. I get done, and I'm like, isn't this why we had kids? I didn't win the battle, and I lost the war.
Were they inside?
Oh yeah, they were inside
playing video games.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
It's a shame.
Oh wow. Anyway, so let's get back on track here. Tennessee State comes to South Bend for the home opener on September 2nd, 3:30 NBC. That'll be the first tailgate that we'll do for the season, obviously. And I mean, what do you think, dude? I mean, will this be much of a contest?
No. In fact, I got my daughter Sydney tickets to the game for this one. So she will be there at the tailgate, making sure she says hi to you and Sean. And she's excited. It's a home opener. She's never been to a home opener before. This, in my opinion, should be an unshelling. We should be able to see Minchie, if not Angeli, whoever ends up getting the backup quarterback job. We're going to see a lot of backups in this game. And if we don't turn this game into a 60-0 shelling, then I'm going to be disappointed. You got to take advantage when you can. And this is an early season matchup that, Notre Dame doesn't play a lot of FBS schools in the history of Notre Dame. So
I think it's the first.
Yeah.
FCS. Yeah, FCS.
FCS, FBS,
yeah.
FCS. It's all a big joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's this should be a shell shacking. I mean, we should just mop the floor. We're not going to let it turn into Appalachian State, Michigan.
Right.
Austin Rough. That did happen.
Yeah. So I think this was because the head coach at Tennessee State is Eddie George, former an Ohio State alum. So I don't think I think did they play together or I don't remember the timeline.
The timing sounds about right.
Eddie George was in the NFL.
When Marcus was there.
No, I think Eddie George is much older. I gotta actually look, but yeah, they were different. They were different eras. I think Eddie George was much earlier because I remember when Eddie George played for the Tennessee Titans, and wasn't he on the Titans when they're in the Super Bowl and the Rams? Yeah. Anyway, September 9th, Irish travel to North Carolina State, noon kickoff.
That game right there is what I like to call a sleeper game because I'm going to tell you something. That team right there, defensively, they are returning a lot. They were one of the top defensive teams in college football last year. So that kind of scares me a little bit. Offensively, they've had some transfers come in. We got a new quarterback, new head coach, or I'm sorry, not a new head coach, but offensively, that's a scary game for me. It's Notre Dame can go in there, and if Notre Dame plays Notre Dame football, I think we'll be okay. I don't think we're in jeopardy of losing the game, but that team has the capability of putting some points on the board, and they can scare some people on defense.
So a little more difficult than what people might think.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a true test. I mean, I don't want to say the first real true test because Navy's always a test. But coming off of a Tennessee State game, you got to keep your head on your shoulders. At that point, you're getting closer and closer to that Ohio State game. So you don't want to lose focus. Let's take it game by game and put the pedal to the metal and just run through these guys. I mean, we're set up, honestly, to make a run here before Ohio State.
Right. Then Central Michigan comes to South Bend on September 16th, 2:30 p.m. The Chippewas.
I know a lot of people that went there.
Yeah.
I'm from Buchanan, Michigan originally. Grew up in South Bend, Buchanan area. So yeah, I do know a lot of folks that I went to high school with that ended up going to Central. Another good game lined up. We're doing some favors there.
Right.
Should be able to make a statement in that game. Yeah, take care of business, iron the things out. And that's kind of what they did setting this schedule up is these first 4 games is a chance for us to get the offense gelling, make sure the defense is on par, get everybody up and moving, get everything going. So when it comes time for the next big game.
Then September 23rd, Ohio State comes into South Bend, 7:30 p.m. Night game. And green out. I love the green jerseys. We talked about that last show.
Love them.
And I think, and I mentioned this when I was on with Sean as well, that I think that this is probably going to have the record-setting attendance when it comes to how many people are on campus, because there's a lot of Ohio State fans in the area.
Well, the vicinity from us to Ohio State, yeah.
Yeah, and Columbus is 4 hours away. So there'll be a lot of Buckeye fans at the game for sure. You can count on that. So what's your take, man? Is this going to be a blowout, or do you think that the Irish are going to surprise a lot of people? They're going to go. It's going to be similar how it was with with Georgia going toe to toe till the end. Or what's your take?
This game right here, I think Notre Dame, the entire fall camp, even what's going on right now, we're focusing on that game alone and, specifically on that game. That's a huge game for Notre Dame. We're playing at home. We played them tight last year. This time we have Sam Hartman behind center versus Drew Pine. Or I'm sorry, not Drew Pine. Tyler Buckner, who ended up getting hurt. This is going to be a big game for us. And not only is it a big game for the season, it's a big game for the recruiting process. It's a big name coming into South Bend. It's our first night game of the season. I see a really close game. I think Ohio State is going to be ready for us. I think we are going to be ready for them. I think finally we have the right pieces in the right places, especially under center, that we're going to make a statement out of this, and Notre Dame is going to pull this one out. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout at all. I think it's going to be not necessarily a low-scoring game, but it's going to be a 1-touchdown game, I'd tell you that.
Okay. Now, do you think that it could be, with the the hangover from Ohio State, traveling to Duke the next week, September 30th, could that potentially be, I don't know,
letdown game?
A letdown, I guess.
Yeah, Duke's had some up and down seasons the last few years. This year's no different. You never know what you're going to get, and if you don't stay focused on the task at hand, you could get caught with your one hand behind your back. I mean, you got to pay attention. Notre Dame, if they do pull this out against Ohio State, which I do believe they will, at that point should be a top 5 team. Going into Duke, just keep your head on your shoulders, play it one game at a time. But yeah, you definitely have to be careful. But I do believe the Irish can win that game.
and then they travel to Louisville the next week.
Mhm. Back-to-back road
Yeah,
games.
October 7th, back-to-back road games. Louisville has, I believe they have a new head coach. Um, who's their new head coach? I do not remember.
Oh,
For some
man,
reason, it is escaping me.
yeah, it is me too. It's
Or
it's
is it,
another one of those.
or is Scott Satterfield? Did he get fired?
You're gonna have to Google. I do tell you this though, after the Ohio State win,
Oh, it's Jeff Brom. He was
Jeff
from
Brom, there you
Purdue.
go. Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep,
he's the
yep,
old
yep, yep.
Purdue coach. Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna go in, we're gonna beat Duke. Then you're gonna go into Louisville. It's another team that can surprise you. So you got to keep on your toes and not look ahead. And there's a big reason not to look ahead. But
'Cause,
Irish win that game too.
okay. Scott Satterfield, he left to be the head coach of Cincinnati when Luke Fickell
Oh,
left
okay,
for
that's right. When
Wisconsin.
Fickle went up to what, Wisconsin?
Yeah, he tried to
Yeah,
take Gino the Gaduli with him, but he did for a minute and then pulled him away from Wisconsin.
right.
All right, so the next week, the Trojans of Southern California come to South Bend October 14th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Now, everybody loves USC week, especially in South Bend.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
why I was so important. I mentioned so much about not trying to look ahead when it came to Louisville because this is a big week.
right,
If Notre Dame rolls into this game, what would they be, 7 or 6-0? This is the seventh game, right?
yeah, yep,
Okay, so let's say Notre Dame rolls in 6-0. They're going to be a top 5 team. USC should be a top 5 team. This is a top 5 matchup. We have them at home. Everything's on the line because here's what you have. You have Lincoln Riley, you have Caleb Williams. They have added a lot in the transfer portal. This is going to be a true test and a true testament of what this team can do. It's going to put a lot of pressure on Marcus Freeman. I almost said Morgan Freeman. Wow.
This is actually the eighth game, so they would be 7-0, hopefully,
7-0.
potentially.
Yeah, it's man, this game excites me so much. And the one thing I never have to worry about with this game, and it's funny, I worry about it with Ohio State, I worry about it with Georgia. We've seen it with Nebraska. Is all these other fans coming in and taking over Notre Dame Stadium. Doesn't happen with USC. Notre Dame fans, for some reason, know that we got to take charge. And this is my most anticipated matchup of the year for Notre Dame. And it's not as much Ohio State. I think we can beat Ohio State. USC is a true test. We're going to really see what we have when it comes to the defense. We're really going to see what we have when it comes to our offense. And we're really going to see what Marcus Freeman can do in the prime time. So that game is so big on my radar. I do believe Notre Dame will win that game. I do believe Notre Dame can win that game. We got to play turnover-free football, but it's going to be a tight one.
I think they will be. I think they'll be out for blood. Out for revenge.
Absolutely.
And I think they will be ready. And I think they're gonna. They're gonna be. They're gonna punch them right in the mouth, and they're not gonna realize what hit them.
No,
and it's going to be, the stadium is going to be lit. It's going to be electric, and Notre Dame fans and players, they are going to be so ready for this game because this will have been almost not quite. This will be 3 weeks after Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever happened in the Ohio State game has pretty much died down. The emotions, the hype. Because playing Duke, Louisville, those back-to-back road games, you come back home and having that memory of what just happened, what happened a few weeks prior, whether it was, and you'll just be so pumped and ready to play, ready to be back home after. Actually, they'll be after 2 weeks on the road, ready to play, pumped, and it's going to be electric.
Oh, absolutely. And on top of that, not to break off where we're talking. Mike Gallagher, another one of our members, is trying to set up a watch party for that game down here in Florida. for all you
Okay.
Florida listeners. We're talking a couple different places, Port Orange, Melbourne, trying to find somewhere between a lot of us fans down here, a lot of the connections that we made at the Gator Bowl at our tailgate, which was awesome. We had a lot of fans show up and made a lot of good new friends and members, and we'd like to keep that going. So if you're down here in Florida and want to get together for that game, that's the game we chose this year to have a watch party, and it's going to be one hell of a time. So I hope y'all can show up.
Hell yeah, that'd be awesome. Then they get a week off by on October 21st.
Much needed.
Right. This is my concern. I just hit the burp button. See, I was anyway. Pittsburgh comes to town on October 28th after a bye week. Pittsburgh is always a concern, especially coming after a bye week. You kind of lose that, right? A letdown game, a trap game, because the following week they go into Clemson. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Trap game is better than a letdown game. I absolutely agree.
Definitely, it could be a potential trap game because Pittsburgh, depending on it doesn't matter what their record is. Pittsburgh could come into this game 0-9, right? Or 0-8, and play Notre Dame so tough, as if, because that's like their Super Bowl, right? They're going to come into South Bend, be on national TV, and just be ready. It seems like it always happens with Pitt. Pitt always gives us problems, it seems like. So this could potentially be a trap game. It could be one of those games where we're trying to pull it out at the very end, similar to 2012. Let's hope it's not one of those types of games. Hopefully the Irish take care of business. They should take care of business. But it's a mentality thing. You're talking about the psychology of a lot of these players, and when I played sports, it's like if you are going up against a team that is terrible. You watch them on film, and they're just like, "God, this team's garbage. This is gonna be an easy win, boys." They have that mentality, whether they want to admit it or not, or whether the coaches want to admit it or not. If you're going up against a team that is absolute garbage,
right?
They have that mindset that you saw that happen against Marshall. You saw it happen against Stanford.
Yeah,
you're not gonna sit here and tell me that Stanford and Marshall were better teams maybe that day, but it was the mentality thing, man. That they just didn't show up mentally to play, and that happens in sports, especially football.
And KC Holler just made a good point. I'm actually watching our Facebook as we're doing this podcast, and he says something, Mike. He says, "No, Mike, I love the Irish too, but we play to our opponents. If they are good, we play good. If they suck, we suck." And
Yep.
KC, you're right. That does happen. That is 100% true. But the thing about that is, Pittsburgh has put me on a blood pressure machine before. That triple overtime game in 2012. I got
was at a wedding.
of me hooked up to the blood pressure machine. Brandon Dougal, go Irish. Thanks for watching. That Pittsburgh game always scares me. And you're right, Mike. These guys, no matter what the record is, they're going to come at us with everything they got. They do scare me, especially after a USC game, before the Clemson game. That is always, no matter who it is, it's always a trap game. So I'm hoping if Notre Dame walks through this and are still undefeated at that point, the mentality sets in. We got to win some football. I don't care who you are. And the one difference that I'd like to see, I haven't had a chance to see it yet, is Marcus Freeman over Brian Kelly when it comes to these teams. If you're winning, I don't just want to win 35-10. I want to mud stomp them. I want to put the pedal to the metal. I'm not letting up. I'm going to win 56-0.
Right. Exactly.
Make a statement, because you need it. You got to have it, and
because you put up 56 points on these on the lesser competition. Then you have people that will say, well, it's just Pitt. Oh, well, it's just them. Okay, well, that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to beat the crap out of these lower competition teams. They're not supposed to pull a game out of their ass like Toledo, a couple years ago, or Pittsburgh from 2012. Pick any game where Notre Dame has had to, basically pull a game out of their ass because they played down to their competition. And
Yeah.
we got to start actually playing now and try to win this game and not get embarrassed,
Right.
But, anyway. So,
It does happen.
yeah.
Full throttle,
So,
no matter what.
no matter
That's what I want to
who
see out
you're
of Marcus
playing.
Freeman.
Yep, no matter who you're
I want to
playing.
see the Irish put up some points. I'm tired of the laying back and taking the foot off the pedal.
Mhm.
We're up 28-14 with 8 minutes to go, and we start running the ball. No, if you're running the ball and making gains, yeah. But if you've been throwing the ball all game, air it out. Let's see what we got, man. Let's put the pedal to the metal. We got to impress the committee. We got to make our move, because if we do slip up in one of these games and don't make it undefeated, we got to make a statement like, hey,
Right.
Notre Dame's
Right.
not to play with. Don't mess with them. So
Right.
I'm right. Casey, you're right 100%.
So the next week we travel to Death Valley to take on the Clemson Tigers. Now this is a game that it's kind of like with USC coming to South Bend. They're going to be ready for us. They're going to be ready to punch us in the mouth. They got embarrassed last year in South Bend. We really took it to them, and they're going to be so pumped and ready for us to come into their place, and they are going to be ready to punch us in the mouth. This could be, I don't know. What do you think, dude? This is one game that really
And I've
does,
said it before.
So go ahead.
Yeah, this is the game that I pointed out a couple times on our last few podcasts that I believe is the biggest game of the year for Notre Dame. It's not the uniqueness of USC. It's not the big game mentality of Ohio State. Those are both at home. We know what we're looking at. Yeah, we got to punch Ohio State in the mouth. We got to punch USC. We really got to play well against Ohio State. Or USC. I'm sorry. That game is probably the toughest game for us. But in my opinion, the biggest game for us is on the road at Clemson after what happened last year. That's a must-win game for us, and I believe it's going to be the biggest challenge Notre Dame faces all year, because that is a very hostile environment, and they have a lot to be pissed off about, because Notre Dame basically smacked them in the mouth last year. Nobody saw that coming, and Benjamin Morrison, that interception return for a touchdown last year,
the
against
nail in the
Clemson.
coffin.
Yeah, they're out for blood, and Dabo's not one to back down on that. So that's going to be a very big game. If you're going to miss a game this year, don't miss that one. And that is the only game that I'm not saying Notre Dame's going to win. I'm saying we could beat Ohio State. We should beat Ohio State. I think we could beat USC to be a toss-up, but that Clemson game, I'm 50-50. Notre Dame has to show up for that game, and they have to play with a mentality that we haven't seen since the Lou Holtz era. We have to have some down hard, rotten defensive guys just busting their butts,
because they will be ready.
They will be ready. They're ready right now. They're practicing all fall for the Notre Dame game.
And I mentioned this last podcast. Lincoln Riley, the head coach of USC, his brother, Lincoln Riley's brother, is the defensive coordinator at Clemson. So you can bet they're having conversations about Notre Dame. You can bet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we continue, Bruce, we got to step aside here. All right, folks, getting your music your way has never been easier with Audilus. Search AUDILOUS on your device and select your station or podcast from rock, country, top 40, hip hop, and more. With 17 different radio stations to choose from, Audilus is your place for FM sounding radio with fewer commercials. Now, with those other music services, we're all tired of being forced to hear so many ads without paying for a subscription, right? Well, Audilus might be what you're looking for. Search AUDILOUS in the Google or Apple Store today and enjoy free premium radio and podcasts right at your fingertips. Audilus, your music, your way. And you can catch your main man, yours truly, jamming the classic rock every Saturday afternoon from noon to 4 Eastern on Classic 100. Go ahead and check that out, folks. All right, now, so back to the schedule here. Wake Forest, they take a week off. They got another bye week. So there's 2 bye weeks after Clemson. And then the last home game, Wake Forest comes into South Bend. Senior night, I don't anticipate any problems with that game because a lot of the emotions from Clemson, all the emotions from the other games, that'll be pretty much settled down. Got the week off to kind of heal up a little bit, and then Wake Forest. I don't think it'll be much of a challenge, but
Yeah.
Wake Forest,
No, I
they do have athletes, but again,
Yeah.
I just think the Irish will be too much for Wake Forest, and I think that we'll get out of there with a win in the last home game. So
Yeah, the biggest storyline on that week is Sam Hartman playing his former team, and I don't see any issues there. We go through the gauntlet. We played 3 top 10 teams at that point. If Notre Dame's rolling, this should not be an issue at all. It should be clockwork. We're going to go in, do what we got to do, get out of there with a win. I mean, simple.
Yep, most definitely. So that'll wrap up the home season for the Fighting Irish. And then they have one final game out in Palo Alto, California against the Stanford Cardinal. November 25th. Well,
always a scary game.
Maybe. David Shaw is no longer the head coach at Stanford. I believe he stepped down, and they have a new head coach. I think this is his first head coaching job, if I'm not mistaken. And this Thanksgiving weekend. And what do you anticipate?
Not a lot. At that point, Notre Dame's season is pretty much wrapped up and in the books when it comes to for a playoff team. If we're not a playoff team, if Notre Dame's a playoff team at that point, I see Notre Dame going in full throttle. They're going to keep the pedal to the metal. They're just going to roll on. If Notre Dame stumbles once, it's still going to have to be full throttle. If they stumble twice going into that game, then it's all about your gut check. Let's see where we're at. Let's prove where we're at. A 2-loss Notre Dame team with the schedule we play, depending on who we lose to, can still make the playoffs. So I expect the Notre Dame Irish victory. And
okay. Do you think we're undefeated going into Stanford, or do you think we have at least 1 or 2 losses?
As a fan, I think we're undefeated. As a football analyst, I can see Notre Dame possibly having 1 loss going into that game. It's all going to come down to how we come out swinging out the right out the gate. If I were to put my prediction in right now, and this is my prediction for the season, let's see what's going to happen. Yes, I think Notre Dame's undefeated going into that game.
Okay, Bruce, we have a question up here. The question is that are we leaving Under Armour from one of our fans? I'm pretty sure they just re-signed with Under Armour.
10-year deal.
Yeah, another
10-year deal. We're
and yes, we are.
Armour.
Yeah, and we are wearing green, all green against Ohio State.
Yes, all green with white numbers. It looks very sharp. If you haven't seen it, check it out on Google. Google it. It's amazing jersey. I'm excited for this one. I think what you're thinking about is the only other contractual issue we have going on right now is NBC, and it sounds like NBC really wants to maintain our partnership, so I do believe that'll get wrapped up here sometime soon. But yes, we are with Under Armour for the next 10 years. So
okay.
It seems.
Check this out. I think we have a new head coach. His name is Michael Freeman now. So you see that?
I think Michael Freeman has. Wow, we got Michael Freeman as head coach. Don't know who that is, but Marcus, I'm sure.
That was a comment from one of our Facebook watchers.
Hey, you know what I call that? Fat fingers, because I do have a little whiskey in me, and sometimes I do some fat fingering, and spell check jumps all over me. So, I really enjoyed this. With us putting this on live, I'm not trying to look down too much, but I like kind of reading your guys' comments.
Are you not able to see them on the screen?
Yeah.
On the right. You can't see you can't see them in the queue.
The only ones I'm seeing are the ones that are on the site. Like Casey said, are we the only team in the country that has their own network?
No.
No. And we really don't have our own network.
Well, maybe exclusively for
right,
NBC.
because NBC is only home games.
Right.
So,
and the Fox has the Big Ten, right? And CBS has the SEC.
Yeah.
And ESPN is pretty much has a lot of
Everywhere.
ACC games. Well, they had a lot of ACC on ESPN or whatever. But Texas has their own network, but not like a national network, not like at the level of Notre Dame with NBC and like a national contract. Not at that level. There are teams that have their own smaller networks. Like there's like the like Texas there's the Longhorn Network, and there's other networks like that, but not at the level of what Notre Dame has. No,
not at all.
Who is our starting quarterback this year? Starting quarterback, I guess, from what we've been hearing, is Sam Hartman. Yeah. So,
hey, if you guys got a quick question in the next like 2 minutes that you want us to answer, go ahead and shoot it out. Michael, throw it up there. I mean, we got like another minute or two, and we're gonna wrap this up. But I like answering you guys' questions. That's what I said. I'm trying to watch my phone without not watching you guys. So I'm like down, I'm up, I'm down, I'm up. But I haven't had enough to drink to do that. So let's get one more question in here, Mike.
Well, let's see here. I think that is it.
That's
some people are being knuckleheads, but
yeah, it happens.
Here's this one. Are we talking football or what? Are we just talking all of Notre Dame? Yes, this is a Notre Dame football themed podcast. It's called the Leprechaun Connection. The mascot for Notre Dame is a leprechaun. So it's the name kind of says itself. It's the Leprechaun Connection, Notre Dame football. So yes, we typically talk mostly about Notre Dame football, but we try to throw in other news in the world of college football. So yeah, we are probably, what would you say, Bruce? 95% Notre Dame related when we do our podcast.
98%. But there's one good question that Casey just put up. I don't know if you can see it. Says, okay, who's our starting tight end this year? Because our tight end is great always. That's a great
is Mitchell Evans. I think he's the next man up.
Mitchell Evans, correct. Yeah. He's the next man up. And I'll tell you what, I did see a good article today talking about tight end U, and they had Miami over Notre Dame as tight end U. And
speaking of Miami, but continue your point.
I know where you're going with that. But Greg Olsen is not the only good thing to come out of Miami as a tight end. Notre Dame has gone one after another. So if you're going to have tight end U, I 100%, it's got to be Notre Dame. Mitchell Evans should be our starting tight end this year. We have a couple more coming in, incoming freshmen. It's never going to go away, and I love the tight end position. I played it in high school on offense. I played defensive end and on defense, so love the tight end position. Go ahead, Mike.
Speaking of Miami, we were supposed to play them in 2024, but there was like a schedule snafu on their end. I think they scheduled too many non-conference games, so they had to scrap the game. So we're going to play at Miami in 2025, and then Miami is going to come to South Bend in 2026. So in 2024, next season, we have to find an opponent. Well, probably, I think. It could potentially be Louisville or Florida State, because I think it has to be an ACC school, because that would leave us with only 4 ACC schools. We got to play at least 5.
Right. So it's going to be an ACC opponent, and
that's available. And I think if I remember seeing, if I read correctly, I think it was Florida State is one of the teams that's available, and some other one. Maybe it was Louisville. I could have been misreading that, but
that's an interesting matchup. If you put Florida State,
bring them to South Bend. Why not?
Yeah,
in November.
Year, think about it. If you're talking bringing in another team, Florida State's going to be a top 10 team, I believe, next year preseason.
Probably right.
Again, benefit of being an independent. You get to do what you want, when you want, whenever you want. Yes, we have a contractual obligation to the ACC to have 5 ACC teams every year. That is huge, because what it does, if Notre Dame shows up, oh man, now here you go. I love that question. So if you want to bring them in, man, see, you're getting me off subject. Anyway, Florida State on our schedule next year does nothing but help us. So yes, please bring on the Seminoles. Mark Edwards, I'm sorry your daughter goes there. Hopefully your son decides to go to the Irish, but
all we can do is hope.
Yeah, I want to dig into that one. Oh man, I'm fighting at the bit.
All right. So, do you think, Bruce? We have somebody who asked, "Do you think we'll ever join? Are we going to join a conference?" Uh, what do you think?
No,
No,
absolutely not.
absolutely
Nope.
not. There's no reason to.
No, Notre
Notre
Dame's
Dame is going to do what's in the best interest of Notre Dame.
right.
They are not going to make decisions that is going to prevent them from competing for a national championship. And now with all this conference realignment, all this gibberish that's going on with other teams, Notre Dame just sitting back, just kind of laughing.
Yeah, it's
Whatever.
all about
Doesn't
money.
doesn't mean anything for them. And especially with this new Under Armour deal. How much money are they getting out of that? And how much money are they getting from the NBC deal?
Yeah,
What
they have no desire.
they have their own network. They have their own brand. There's no absolutely positively no reason for them to ever join a conference. I don't think it'll ever happen unless college football has such a drastic change that it literally forces them to join a conference.
Right.
Like where they literally have to ban independent schools. You have
Yeah,
to
and that
ban
won't
it.
happen.
That would be the only way. Or if there was a legit reason that look, the way this is being restructured, the only way you're going to get in a playoff spot is if you're a conference champion. If you're not a conference champion, you're out. Well, now with the 12-team playoff that's happening in 2024, that's even
Never
more
happen.
reason not to join a conference.
Yeah. Notre Dame
You
doesn't
know,
need the money, first of all. Second of all, the money we're going to bring in from Under Armour and NBC or whoever they choose is set money. It's just going straight to them. You know, you see these conferences picking up different TV deals. Well, they said this, we're getting this. It's not what they said. Yeah, we don't have to worry about that because you could join a conference. You're going to get your market share. But if something happens down the line, that market share changes. Notre Dame doesn't like change. We're like, no, we know what we're getting from NBC or whomever they choose. We know what we're getting from Under Armour. They have donors. If they need a new facility, they pick up the phone and they got a new science building. They got a new,
right.
you know, they don't have to worry about money. Notre Dame wants the ability to say, no, I don't want to. I'm going to do what I want until you make me change. Unless you say you have to win a conference championship to play in the playoffs, you'll never see Notre Dame join, in my opinion.
Right.
So no, it has nothing to
Right.
do with that.
And I think with their when is the NBC contract up? I think it's 2025, if I remember correctly.
I do believe it's sent to not this year. I think it's next
It's
year.
it's coming up
Yeah,
regardless. It's coming up. So,
They're
but I
negotiating.
yeah, so they're at Notre Dame was asking for a lot more money this time
A
around,
lot. Yeah,
and
a
they're going to
lot.
get it. They're going to get it.
Well, yeah. Well,
Either
they
it comes from
negotiated
NBC
that
or Fox
contract.
or whoever, you
Yeah, they
know.
negotiated that last contract like 12, 15 years ago. I mean, times have changed. You know, you see
So
what the Pac-12's giving out, the big or not the Pac-12, Big Ten's giving out. I mean, they know where they're going to go.
just think of how much money they make on tickets for football games.
Oh my
Think how
God.
much
If you
money
do
they
the
make
math,
on concessions. Think how much money they
80,000
for
tickets.
one game, right? Think okay, you got 7 home games a year, right?
Mhm.
And you have 6 away games and or not that's you have four is it 4 away games and 1 neutral or something like that? It's like 7,
Right.
4, 1 or something like that. So
Yeah.
7 home games, all those ticket sales, all those merchandise sales, all those concessions, especially the merchandise. Think how much money they're making off just merchandise alone, right?
Oh my
And
goodness.
then the money from NBC, the money
This
from
Afghan.
Under Armour.
This
Yeah,
Afghan. I bought that 20 years ago at a Notre Dame game, $200.
$200. What would that cost
$200
now?
for this Afghan. That
Yeah,
was 20 years ago. Now
yeah,
I can't imagine what that would go for now.
yeah.
You know,
Okay, we have one more question. Oh yeah. So how often you guys go live? Well, we we typically have the podcast available audio only as like a radio broadcast is produced like a radio show. Um, kind of going live is kind of a new thing. We've tried doing it, you know, using multiple different platforms. This seems to be a platform that I like better. So we would like to try to go live more. And just also remember, you know, for those of you listening, this is only the 3rd year. We did our first broadcast sometime in 2021. So this is our only 3rd year doing it. So what I would like to do is to keep doing live. And if we can't go live, we're still going to have video, but it might just air later. But
Right.
live,
So-
but going live, but yeah, going live is definitely the way to go because we can kind of interact with our listeners and all that kind of stuff. But there is a live version. There's gonna be a live version of this podcast. There'll be video you can go back and watch later, and then we'll have an audio version that you can hear on Spotify and Apple and all that stuff. It's produced differently. It does, has like all the music and stuff in it, but this is just very dry. But
kind of
so,
raw.
yeah. Who? Look at this. Look at this one.
Wow, you're a beast. Why am I not a beast? Why am I not a beast? Why is it always got to go to Mike? I mean, come on. I gotta get more fans, Mike.
Yeah.
I don't have the
when we had our safety briefing before the show, we were talking about the burp button and the fart button, and I violated that, we also talked about, we went through a little show prep because we were supposed to have a guest, and we'll talk about that later, but we were supposed to have a guest, so we had to reschedule, which is fine. But Bruce is like, let's just do a quick 30-minute podcast, bro. I'm like, okay. It's never a 30-minute podcast.
I
Never.
said 20.
Did you say 20? See,
I said 20.
that's my listening skills. That's what...
Hey, we like talking football, guys. I like interacting. I love it.
He said it right in my ears, right in my headphones, 20 minutes, and I for some reason heard 30.
Yeah, well, and now we're at 45.
46, 47 minutes. So
oh geez, we need to wrap.
Yeah, we should go ahead and wrap this up.
Should I do the
leave your shirt on? Leave your shirt on.
I was gonna do the Farmer Fran, but I'm not allowed to.
All right, folks. If you still like this podcast, please subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend, tell a neighbor. We really do appreciate it. Also, please check out our Patreon. Go to patreon.com and search Leprechaun Connection. It's just $3 a month for general support. It does help keep this podcast going. It also helps fund things like tailgates that we supplied food for and watch parties. So yeah, there's that. Bruce, before we wrap up, you got your finger up. Final thoughts.
Final thought. Hey, my daughter is on watching now, so she missed all the good fun and giggles.
Oh, she missed my cough and my farts.
Sydney, you missed the cough and farts, but I love you. I hope everything's going well. You're gonna have fun at the Tennessee State game. I hope you watch this from the beginning because it's gonna be better. But
yeah,
all right, Mike, go ahead and wrap it.
Good to see. All right. Oh man. Wow, what a night. All right, folks, we are actually going to wrap this up now. Visit our Facebook page to stay on top of everything Irish. And to our friends here in the Michiana area and to all our friends across Irish Nation, thank you so much for listening. And for Bruce, I'm Mike McClure. Join us here next time right here on the Leprechaun Connection podcast. And everybody says, go Irish, baby.
Irish.
Woo, woo.